So when did you start working with Royal Legal?
I believe it was back in maybe October or November 2022.
What was your real estate goal when you first started getting involved in real estate?
So our real estate goal obviously is to be financially free. When we first started our real estate investing, we started that back in 2022 with the mentorship of a group called Then Coast University, which is basically how we got your contact. We spoke to several law firms, and what we wanted when we started our real estate investing was to start off with short-term rentals and seeing going through that path, like how can we protect ourselves as business owners? If anything unforeseen in the future, horrible was to happen while running the business.
Would you say that that's still your current goal, or have your goals changed at all or shifted any?
Our goals are pretty much the same. We do want to scale. Again, we just started last year. We started with short-term rentals, but hopefully we can build our portfolio to other things. But this is the beginning of it.
Briefly describe how you make money and how long you've been doing it in real estate.
We started our journey back in May 2022. We got our first property out in Texas for a short-term rental, um, which has been going great and smoothly. And then with running that business, we just wanted to see like how to protect ourselves again and like what needs to be done as far as even filing our taxes when it comes to last year. We're literally learning as we're going
What did you have in place before you started working with Royal Legal? Were you just holding property in your personal name?
in our personal name. And
Okay.
yeah.
And then what were you trying to accomplish when you did engage with us then?
I didn't want our personal assets and our business assets tied together. Where when we're running this business, and like I mentioned earlier, our assets were out there with just by searching our property and who owned it. I didn't want that. So it was basically to protect myself and my husband.
Okay, so basically commingling of assets, you would say, would be one of the problems
Yep.
you were trying to solve.
Yep.
Did you have any other frustrations when you were first starting out with having everything kind of personal?
I think it was just understanding the whole structure, where at first I thought I could do everything on my own, which I was initially going to do, like, "Oh, okay, let me just set up an LLC." And I thought that pretty much would have been the end of it. Then I started to do a little bit more research, started to talk to more people who are deep into like their real estate investing, and basically just adding that another layer for the trust and using the LLC rather to be just more of the operating business. Yep.
Okay, and what results or new understandings have you achieved so far since you began working with us?
A lot. I didn't even think we were gonna do our estate planning while we were doing our session. So we added that on top of it. We actually thought we were gonna do that later for the estate planning for both like like our wills from my husband's, our trust, our joint trust, our living trust. But we were able to accomplish that on top of getting our EIN number with starting up our LLC and then doing the DST.
What areas of your business and life have improved with that, and how much would you say they improved, and why do you think they improved?
I would say 100% it's improved my life drastically because of the fact that when we started the business, just having in the back of my head that we weren't protected and anything could happen. Honestly, even with running the business, I always look to the standard. The customer is always right, whatever they ask. Always attend to, which I still live by, but I really was trying to do things on the end where nothing would just come back to me where I would regret. So not having all the things and the asset protection that I have now, that gives me a alleviation of that stress and that burden of worrying.
So what do you think the impact of working with us has been for you?
Impact again, it's just like getting that sense of the burden off my shoulders, just learning on what is needed to run a business. Once we get another property under our belt, under real estate, I do want to layer this in. I feel like the first step is always the longest and the hardest. But now it just makes it easier now that we have a point of contact. I just know where to go to.
Do you want to go a little more in depth on where you first heard about Royal Legal and what about Royal Legal piqued your interest?
Yep. So my husband and I are part of a community called Van Coast University, um, primarily ran with Calvin and Jenny. We got our connection through that community on suggestions of how to set up our LLC, who to go to. There were other references. Like I said, we probably did maybe 3 to 5 other ones that we weren't really happy with. We felt it was very generic, or it was more of someone reading off of a paper, where if I really had questions to be answered, they really weren't answered, which is why we loved you guys. And we decided to go with your company because of the fact that when we did have layman and probably even questions where it probably most I'd be like, "Oh, it's a stupid question." You guys would still answer everything just so I wouldn't worry. So having that contact, having the consultation, you guys were very fast with emails when I had questions before even signing up. I really liked the communication, which is why we decided to go with you guys.
What made you finally pull the trigger on getting everything
Yeah.
set up?
To tell you, even just to add to it, at first I was very hesitant. I think when my husband and I were researching and talking about it, I wanted a law firm where I can just physically walk into and go to. That was because that's from my experience of doing it online and doing some of the Zoom calls with some of the other law firms that we spoke to, which is why I was like, we need someone who is in San Francisco. Then we found you guys and we got your reference. That took that off the plate. Going through your Zoom and our meetings, and you guys were quick to reply, made it just so much easier.
How would you describe what it's like to work with Royal Legal?
The most of value the was is everything from my personal side when we did our estate planning, again, which we weren't planning to do anytime soon. So having that said and done, and now having our papers notarized on basically what we wanted as an individual as well as a couple, that greatly helped both me and my husband. Also on the business side, just now knowing we have our LLC and CTT, that's helped us. And now when we do have our next real estate investment, we already know what to do and how to layer this new investment or properties into our structure.
And how would you describe what it's like to work with Royal Legal to someone?
Very easy. That's why I recommended my mother-in-law. She was one of our witnesses in our estate planning. So I gave her a high level run through of what we were doing and how I was very happy with the communication, how smoothly this went, the turnaround time. So now hopefully she's going through a consultation and she goes through it.
Why should someone listening to this testimonial take action right now for their structure and their real estate business?
I feel like it's just planning for your future, protecting yourself. I know when you go into real estate investing, and again, I'm still learning. Um, it's great being on the business side where, okay, I'm having revenue and I have the cash flow, but you also have to look at the back end and like you need to protect yourself. You need to separate what's business, what's personal. And you just don't commingle any of that.
How likely are you to recommend it?
Definitely, I will, and I definitely will spread the word beyond my immediate family. Right now, it's my mother-in-law, but I'm very happy with the services. Thank you guys. Thank you. Even like I spoke to you, Suzanne. I spoke to several people. Everyone was very helpful, so I appreciate it.